Welcome, everyone. Today, we are going to embark on an exciting journey into the world of geometry, specifically focusing on one of the most fascinating shapes, the circle. A circle is a simple yet intriguing shape. It's a closed curve where every point on its boundary is at the same distance from a single point known as the center. Imagine tying a string to a pencil and holding the other end at a point on a paper. As you move the pencil around, keeping the string tight, you'll draw a circle. Now, let's zoom into the circle's heart, the center. Any point which is at equidistance from anywhere from its boundary is known as the center of the circle. Here O is the center of circle. Speaking of distances, let's talk about the radius. The distance from the center of a circle to any point on its curved edge. It's like the lifeline of the circle, defining its size. Whether you measure it upwards, downwards, or sideways, it remains constant. Now, if you stretch the line from one edge of the circle, through the center, to the other edge, you've got the diameter. It's twice as long as the radius and cuts the circle in half. Think of it as a bridge connecting two points on the circle's boundary. Ever wondered about the distance around a circle? That's called the circumference. It's like taking a walk along the circle's edge and measuring the path you've covered. To find out how long our walk is, we use the formula for the circumference, which is 2 pi times the radius. This magical number pi, is what connects the radius with the circumference, making our calculations possible. But what if we wanted to paint the inside of our circle? We'd need to know its area. The formula for the area of a circle is pi times the radius squared. It tells us how much space there is inside the circle. Now, let's visualize the circle's interior and exterior. In a flat surface, the interior of a circle is the line whose distance from the center is less than the radius. The exterior of a circle is the line in the plane whose distance from the center is larger than the radius. To understand circles better, let's get familiar with some terms. Any straight line segment that's both endpoints falls on the boundary of the circle is known as chord. In Latin, it means bowstring. Any smooth curve joining two points is known as arc. So in circle, we can have two possible arcs. The bigger one is known as major arc and the smaller one is known as minor arc. Here we can see all major arcs. Other key players include the tangent, secant, diameter, radius, and the segments and sectors formed by arcs and chords. Each of these elements plays a unique role in the circle's geometry, helping us describe and work with circles in detail. A segment of the circle is the region between either of its arcs and a chord. It could be a major or minor segment. Sector of the circle is the area covered by an arc and two radii joining the center of the circle. It could be the major or minor sector. Here we can see the differences between major and minor segments as well as sectors. If in a circle AB is the chord and is making angle ACB at any point of the circle, then this is the angle subtended by the chord AB at a point C. Likewise, angle AOB is the angle subtended by chord AB at point O, that is, at the center, and angle ADB is also the angle subtended by AB at point D on the circle. So we can say that a single chord can subtend multiple angles in a circle. Based on this, let us start to understand some basic theorems. Theorem 1. Any two equal chords of a circle subtend equal angles at the center. Here in the circle, the two chords are given and PQ is equal to RS with center O. So OP is equal to OS is equal to OQ is equal to OR. All are radii of the circle. Triangle POQ is congruent triangle SOR. Angle POQ is equal to angle SOR. Theorem 2. If the angles made by the chords of a circle at the center are equal, then the chords must be equal. Theorem 2 is the reverse of the Theorem 1. PQ is equal to RS. Theorem 3. If we draw a perpendicular from the center of a circle to any chord, then it bisects the chord. If we draw a perpendicular from the center to the chord of the circle, then it will bisect the chord. And the bisector will make 90 degrees angle to the chord. Theorem 4. The line which is drawn from the center of a circle to bisect a chord must be perpendicular to the chord. OB is perpendicular to AC. If we draw a line OB from the center of the circle O to the midpoint of the chord AC, that is B, then OB is the perpendicular to the chord AB. Theorem 5. There is one and only one circle passing through three given non-collinear points. This circle is known as circumcircle. Theorem 6. Two equal chords of a circle are at equal distance from the center. If the chords are of equal size, then their distance from the center will also be equal. Theorem 7. Chords at equal distance from the center of a circle are also equal in length. This is the reverse of Theorem 6. Theorem 8. The angle subtended by an arc at the center is twice the angle subtended by the same arc at some other point on the remaining part of the circle. Angle POQ equals twice of angle PRQ. Theorem 9. Angles from a common chord which are on the same segment of a circle are always equal. Angle A equals angle B. Theorem 10. Any pair of opposite angles of a cyclic quadrilateral has the sum of 180 degrees. Angle A plus angle C equals 180 degrees. Angle B plus angle D equals 180 degrees. Theorem 11. If the pair of opposite angles of a quadrilateral has sum of 180 degrees, then the quadrilateral will be cyclic. This is reverse of Theorem 10. Conclusion. We were able to learn different properties of circles. We hope that you have understood the topic. You can now study chapter notes, watch video lectures and solve MCQ tests of this chapter on Eduref to ensure you score well in your school exams. And that's not all. You also get amazing courses for maths, science, English, Hindi, and much more for class 9. Thank you.